Talk A2D Radio. We got a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We got some developing stuff that's gone on before we went on just a few hours ago. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the win over the Panthers. I'm sure that's going to be a divisive topic as well. And we'll talk about anything else in Week 14 around the NFL. So thank you for coming with us. This is Eagles Talk. Let's get it. Let's go.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia!
This is Eagles Talk A2D Radio. We're brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie sandwiches, and cutlets and meatballs. Make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are back. We are live. It's your boy Chucks. It's Brinks. And it's PY. We will be joined by Les Bowen in a little bit as well. Fellas, how are you feeling?
We're good. We're 11-2. We've won 9 games in a row. But we do have some stuff to talk about.
Happy.
We do have stuff to talk about. Absolutely. I agree with you there. So I was going to lead with the poll question, but considering what just transpired not too long ago, tangent, but we were just talking about this before the show. Chase Brown just scored for the Bengals. That was absolutely a touchdown, so glad he got in. So that's a touchdown. They overturned the call. Good stuff, my boy Chase Brown. So 14-10 Bengals. So we got that Monday Night Football going. But, as I said, we've got big quote from Brandon Graham. Okay? He was on his show, and he was talking about the whole thing with AJ's comments. There's a lot to read, so you can go online and find the whole thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the thing that the one part of his quote that has raised a lot of eyebrows and got everyone talking is his quote here where he says, I know 1 is trying and 11 could be better with how he responds to things. They were friends, but things have changed. He said they were friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed, and I understand that because life happens. It's the business side that we have to make sure the personal don't get in the way of business. So people went around with it. So there's a lot of speculation what he meant, and he even Tim McManus actually just gave a quote. He followed up with Brandon Graham about it, and in essence, and I'll bring it up real quick. If you give me 1 second. Yeah, Tim McManus spoke with Brandon Graham, and BG said, "I just assumed about their friendship, and it made me out to look even worse because I had it all wrong, and now people are going to run with that part." So, I mean, you could take that as just damage control. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Let's go around the horn and give reactions. Brinks, let's start with you. What's your first reaction when you hear that? How do you interpret his quotes?
Why? Just why? Like, Brandon Graham he's injured, but he's on this team, and he's a leader on this team. This is just more nonsense about guys who want to improve their brand in season and just making a whole mess. Brandon Graham should know better than this. He can't say that. Sorry. Like, I love Brandon Graham. He's a legend. I hope he comes back next year just because I don't want to see his career end on an injury like that. But he's got to use his brain and remember that he's on WIP on his show, and you can't say that when your team's 11-2 hunting for a championship. You just can't. Yep. Now, there's TO stuff and McNabb stuff layered into this. I don't care about that. Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens are not relevant in 2024. I know people are throwing that in the comments. I do not care. Brandon Graham is a team captain. Brandon Graham went on his radio show and acted like a total buffoon and stirred the pot on something that, in the grand scheme of things, probably isn't even an issue. Now he wants to say, oh, well, I just speculated about their friendship. Like, no, you didn't. There's clearly a rift, or else you wouldn't have said it. So, like, in order for him to feel like he's on the team, he's got to go on his stupid radio show and spout his mouth off and make it so Jalen and AJ and Nick and all the other players on the team that are actually playing downs the rest of the season have to answer for his mess. It's unacceptable leadership. I expect this from a guy like Darius Slay. But Brandon Graham, man, come on, bro. You got to be better than that. Not good. Not good going into a Steelers week. Not good at all.
PY, what do you think? And then I'll bring in Les after you go.
So I don't think it's anything. Like, BG looks stupid. We love BG, but he looks like an idiot talking like this. I don't think it's a big deal because I think we all know he kind of misspoke and he didn't mean what he said. But at the end of the day, like 2 weeks ago, they're dapping each other up like they're best friends. Prior to the game, him, AJ, Jalen, and Devontae Smith were praying together. Like, if there's this like big deal and they're having these issues, AJ's not signing here in the offseason. That's not a thing. And B, if they're having such issues, they're not praying together prior to a game. Look, AJ wants the ball in his hands. Okay, he's a big game player. That's what he is. In big moments, he wants the ball in his hands. It didn't get in his hands, and whether it's the quarterback or it's the offensive scheming, that shouldn't happen. But that's all he's upset about. He's upset that he couldn't get going earlier on in the game. Like, that really all this kind of boils down to. I don't think there's issues with him and Jalen. Look, when you're playing with your best friend, issues can come when it comes to these situations. But at the end of the day, you squash it. You're pissed in the moment. You lose your temper. You say things you don't mean. You point fingers, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's done. Like, if this is something that continues moving forward, we can have this discussion. But they said the same crap last year that AJ wanted out and this and that and all this other nonsense. He's still here. We're 11-2. Let's move on.
All right. So good responses. We're going to bring in Les. Bowen on the Birds. Les, how you doing today?
Just great, Chucks. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm fighting a little bit of a head cold at the moment, but I mean, it's that time of the year. But Brings and PY, as you heard, they gave their reaction. So let's go to you, Les, and then I'll go. But what's your reaction to BG's comments?
Yeah, I believe that he didn't have any inside information. I think reporters like it when guys are very, very available and very, very, they're not real guarded. And that's exactly what BG is. He's a guy who's very, very available, and there's no artifice with him at all. There's no filter. There's no, he doesn't always think too much before he says things. And I think he just kind of was going off of what was posted on social media yesterday when people made a big deal about AJ saying the passing game, about what needed to improve. I don't put too much in it. I don't know, but I can't understand why there would be a huge rift between AJ and Jalen. And, I think Brandon could have thought over what he was going to say originally a lot better and then not had to go through this. I actually texted him boy, you really set up talk radio for the whole week here, buddy. And he was, I didn't know he was already in the process of getting back to Tim McManus, I guess, and clearing this up. But, it's unfortunate, and it's going to be a little bit of a circus probably because there's people that are going to want to run with it because it's good fodder, but as far as a problem for the team, no.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go to the comments before I answer, but we got Andrew Baker saying, even if it was taken out of context, BG knows better than give the city media any ammunition.
I don't think it was taken out of context. I think he said something dumb. I mean, let's not.
Yeah. He also brought up the T.O. and McNabb thing. Now T.O. took a shot at McNabb. LOL. What a night
Yeah.
for the Eagles community. Really, it was funny because, like, yeah, what breaks what you were talking about, McNabb. If those who are listening, if you didn't know, McNabb had chimed in on the AJ Brown comments too and talked about how if you have a problem with someone, you go to them. You don't go to the media. And
Which he would have liked to have seen happen in 2005. Yeah.
yeah. So it's the whole T.O. McNabb drama again being brought up for them.
Yeah.
2024, 20 years later, and it's still a thing. Well, who would have known?
T.O., there's something deeply wrong with that guy, but let's not get into that now.
Yeah, let's not get into it.
They should
John
fight.
Mamas,
They
John
should
Mamas
fight.
says they should
Oh,
fight.
no, wait a minute. I don't think he did anything wrong. Wait a minute.
AJ Brown needs to STFU, and is there any free agent kicker out there? The last thing we need.
He didn't
is
do anything
using-
wrong. Nothing AJ said was incorrect. The passing game needs to be better.
Yeah.
And
I don't
everyone
think
from the
AJ
kicker
did
to the
anything.
coach to the quarterback will tell you that.
And I'm also not ready to cut the best kicker in Eagles history. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think the issue is that he can't make a 45-yarder. The issue is he can't make a 50-yarder anymore.
Well, sort of, yeah, exactly.
And that is a problem. A couple more
Not
weeks
making
with
anything
that
right now.
being a problem is certainly going to be fodder. But right now, I don't think. Yeah, I'd like to know what the heck is going on with Jake Elliott. If it's not an injury, then what is it? He's not old. He said something I didn't like yesterday. He said they were asking him about it, and he says, well, these are hard kicks. Well, I never heard him say anything like that when he was hitting 61-yarders, to win games. I never heard him say these are hard kicks. I don't like hearing that, and I don't know what the deal is with Jake, but
Maybe the hard kicks this year.
He does
Extra
get,
points.
especially since they
Points are
keep
hard.
winning, he does get some grace, being the best kicker in the history of the franchise and one of the probably 10 best in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And Chris Kaufman also says, am I the only one that didn't read what AJ said yesterday as a shot against Hurts? No,
Yeah, I don't think it really was.
No, it's not a shot.
I took it as a collectively, the pass game needs to be better. And we'll get into that soon when it comes to
Yeah, I do have some thoughts on that.
Yeah. And then, Les should be back soon. We lost him for a second. And then Daly makes a good point. Jake Elliott isn't the only kicker struggling right now. You got that right.
Justin Tucker.
Kickers. I mean, Young Wei Koo is struggling. Another one of the best kickers in the game. So, and he's not the only one. So, I am nowhere near close to cutting Jake Elliott because you also don't have any other options. You're not going to cut him in season, but you got to just ride with him and hope he fixes it. There he is. And then we get him back.
I made a slight adjustment to my screen and I went away. I'm not that technologically backward for an old person, but I really think I should be able to touch my laptop screen without zapping the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll talk to the Lenovo Corporation about this.
There you go. My reaction is a lot of what you guys said. I think when it comes to trying to you just don't want you expect more out of BG being one of the leaders, and we love. And I don't think we need to chastise BG. He's been great for so long, and no one is perfect. So we get it. Everyone's going to make mistakes. So it's not something where his legacy is now tarnished or anything. And I'm sure no one is saying that, but it is a mistake. You want him to just keep that. It's funny because he's preaching about keeping things in house, and then he didn't keep something in house. So
yeah,
the irony there is funny. As to the actual thing he spoke on, I mean, no one can tell for sure except those two, and maybe close family and friends. No one really knows. If I were to guess what he was trying to hint or trying to get at, was that before they were teammates, they were just friends. They were best friends, right? That was the only part of their relationship. Now being teammates, there's more to that dynamic. You have a relationship where you have to worry more than just friendship. You have to worry about being quarterback or wide receiver.
When things aren't going well, friendships get tested a little bit.
Yeah, and when you're in a business like the NFL, there is a dynamic that you have to take into account because you're all trying to reach a common goal, and sometimes there's going to be things that get in the way. Sometimes there's going to be things that frustrate you. You know, it's all part of the process. I'm sure we all working. That's the beauty of working as a team, is because you have to find a way to come together. And when it does, it's beautiful. But you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have problems along the way. And I think that's what BG was coming to. I think
I think so too. Yeah,
I think that's what he was trying to get to. So, unfortunately, we all know the media is going to run with this. I don't think it's only going to be a week thing. I think this is going to be a lasting point for the rest of the season. People are going to constantly bring it up. They're going to be under the microscope, and all could have been avoided. But it is what it is right now. You got to kind of deal with it. The best way you deal with it is best by continuing to win games. You win games, it's going to be on the back page.
Right.
You lose games, it's going to be on the front page. So that's what it is. So good conversations, guys. We adjusted, caught an audible, and went that route. Now let's get to our poll question, which is also a good discussion. And I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of difficulty coming up with my answer for this, even though I made the poll question. So it's going to be I'm very eager to see what you guys think. All right. So Les, I want to start with you. The passing game inconsistencies stem mainly from schematic issues than it does from the players. Agree or disagree?
Oh boy, it's really a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to disagree, but not strongly. I do think I watch all these other games and I see receivers like for the Rams schemed wide open. You know, they're just running free and the quarterback throws them the ball, and it's not like he has to wait or he's trying to hit a tight, before the safety comes down. The guy's just, running over here. There's nobody around. I see that all the time. And I just wonder why it never happens with the Eagles. Mm-hmm. And from that standpoint, I think there are some things schematically that are a problem. However, what we saw yesterday was Jalen Hurts not wanting to throw the ball. And they have to fix that. I mean, he just wouldn't throw it on time, didn't want to let go of it, threw it late, didn't throw it at all, took sacks, it was kind of painful. I mean, he made some big plays as well. Every time I say stuff like this, I know there are people out there going, yeah, he's the worst quarterback that ever lived. No, he's not. But he wasn't good yesterday. He really wasn't, despite his rating, which came from the 2 touchdown passes. Mm-hmm. But throwing for 108 yards, and if you take the sack yardage into account, I think it was 80-something yards, with both Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown in the lineup is ridiculous. It just is absolutely ridiculous, especially when it wasn't like you ran it 40 times. You just, you didn't – the offense wasn't on the field. Part of that was the defense's fault, but a good bit of it was the offense's fault for just not getting anything going. And I think Hurts was at the center of that yesterday. Now, whether he's always at the center of it, I don't know. Schematically, it was – we talked last year. I was on that bandwagon pretty hard that they needed to do more to help Hurts out. But they changed everything. They got Kellen Moore in here, and we're seeing some of the same issues. So I'm going to say it's not as much schematic as it is Jalen Hurts. And I don't think it's anything horrible. I don't think it means he can't play the position. I do think I'll wind up here real quickly so everybody else can talk. I do think the turnover thing and how hard we all went on that early in the season has produced an unfortunate byproduct, and that's that he just won't throw anything that's dangerous. And he hasn't thrown an interception since the Dallas game, which was a blowout win, and the interception didn't matter. He just won't. He's decided that he won't ever throw an interception, and you can't play that way, really. I mean, it's nice that he hasn't thrown any, but you really can't play quarterback with the idea that you're never, ever going to throw an interception or a ball that might conceivably be intercepted.
PY, what do you think?
So I'll be the first to admit I don't think Jalen was great yesterday on Sunday. He had a lot of issues. I just don't think he felt like a rhythm with the offense. Like he was missing guys. But like when you needed him to step up, which was what he's been doing in the last 9 weeks. Like I think there was a stat where he has more touchdowns and incompletions in the fourth quarter. He has a 100 plus passer rating in the fourth quarter. Like that's exactly what you want from your franchise quarterback. So that's fantastic. But he has been a little shaky as of late when it comes to the passing game. And I do think a lot of it is he's not liking what he's seeing. He doesn't feel good in the pocket. I don't think the pass protection has been great. I don't think it was. There are sacks that he does take, which is not good. But I also think the pass protection from this year compared to last year has been down. And we can make an argument that a lot of it is Jason Kelce is not calling those pass protections. Jalen is the one responsible for it. So that could play a big part in not being on the same page with Juergens, with Mailata and things like that. But I also do think that from a scheme standpoint, I do think it is an issue at times. Like obviously people are going to say it's Sirianni's fault no matter what happens. I do think it's a Kellen Moore issue at times to where I think we don't target we don't target the middle of the field enough, which is kind of similar to last year. It's a little bit more so this year. They're willing to do so, which I do like, but I don't think they do it enough. And I don't think there's enough short yardage throws to try and set things up because it's either at times it feels like the passing game is
slants to AJ Brown a game.
Yeah, exactly. There should be, like Wes said, there should be half a dozen slants to AJ Brown. Some short intermediate throws to Devontae Smith. Grant Cazera is great behind the sticks. Like, throw it to him because guess what? When you throw the ball to Grant right now, you're getting good positive yardage. Get Will Shipley involved. See what happens with him. Throw the ball to Saquon. Every time you throw the ball to Saquon, good things are happening. Like, I think from a scheme issue that we're just – I feel like it's a Madden offense at times when it comes to the passing game to where – it's 4 verticals every play. And if it's not a 60-yard deep route on the side to AJ Brown, then there's nothing really there. Throw it behind the sticks. Throw some short passes. Just get it going. And for the love of Christ and all that is holy, stop throwing on first down.
Brinks.
Schematic issue. The main problem with the passing game is Jalen Hurts. Period. I don't think that unless Saquon is blowing the game wide open, making big plays, or Jalen has a slant or a deep ball to AJ Brown, let's hit the nail right on the head. Jalen Hurts is terrified to make mistakes, and you can't play professional sports like that. He needs to get over it. I killed him for turning the ball over last year and this year. But, like, you're going to fumble the ball sometimes you're running quarterback. You're going to throw interceptions. It's okay. It just can't be a chronic issue like it was the first 4 weeks of this season and during the collapse last year. Like, here's a list of teams that have more passing yards per game than the Philadelphia Eagles. The Chicago Bears, the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers, and the Indianapolis Colts, who have played with a backup quarterback for most of the season. And Anthony Richards isn't good. The only team worse than them throwing the football in terms of yards per game is the Patriots. Jalen's got to sit back there. He needs to stop staring down his receivers. He needs to take risks, not be reckless, and they need to move the ball in the offense. For this passing offense to be 31st in the NFL in terms of yards per game, they're also 31st in yards and total yards passing, but I think yards per game is a much more useful stat, so I'm using that one. Like, that's not acceptable. You're not going to win a championship being 31st in the league in passing offense. Now, it's December. They start slow every game. I've been saying it all year, and everyone says I'm nuts, Everyone says I'm Negadelphia, but it's December now, and they started slow again yesterday. They have one first quarter touchdown the entire season. Like, the talent that's been assembled on this offense versus the production that we are getting doesn't mix. Something's wrong. And I don't dislike what Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, whoever's calling the plays and making the plan during the week, I don't think it's awful. I really don't. Like, Jalen's got to sit back there, stop staring down his receivers, and be comfortable with his players, his receivers outside of A.J. Brown to make plays. Because this team's not going anywhere in the playoffs 31st in passing offense. Now, you might win the wild card round because you're going to be playing probably the 7 seed, and you might be able to sneak past a Detroit, or not Detroit, a Minnesota, a Green Bay, or a Los Angeles in the second round. But you sure as hell aren't beating the Lions 31st ranked in passing and starting slow every week. So, like, I don't know. I think it's gut check time for our $255 million quarterback. I really do. And it's not going to get any easier because you're playing the Steelers next week, and they're really good.
All right. So I am going to – it's really tough to answer this question because I do think every single piece of the passing infrastructure has a part of blame. Every single part. Okay, you have Kellen Moore and the offense does have their issues. Okay, they have their issues. They've done amazing job of structuring an awesome run game. They do some really good stuff in the pass game. They could do more. They could do a little bit more. You see some stuff that are really good, and then you see some stuff where like it's questionable. So I do think they need to step up too. They need to do a little bit better job in Kellen Moore and Sirianni and company. Overall, I'm going to disagree and say it stems more from the players. However, it's not. I'm not going to go Brinks and say it's more so Hurts. It's also execution from everyone involved, including pass protection. Like what I said, like there were several times, and I watched from this game alone, where the pass protection was just, they let up so much. They did not handle the blitz well. They did not. And so my film breakdown reel is just got up on A2D socials, Facebook and Instagram. If you see two plays where Jalen Hurts made something happen with two big runs with his legs, that's because the pass protection broke down. So he's making something. He leads the league in EPA for quarterbacks when it comes to running and scrambling. So his impact on the ground is best in the league right now. Okay, Brinks, I think it's unfair, and you're nitpicking here because you were one of the loudest people when it came to Hurts not turning the ball over. You were adamant that he has to do whatever it takes to not turn it over. But then now you're saying that, okay, like you've got to be more aggressive. Like it's okay to turn it over a little bit. Like I know that you are trying to find that balance, but at the same time, it's a little bit hypocritical to go one way and then the other way. I think that also you pointing out yards per game is a misleading stat to point out because they are running the ball so much. Yards per game doesn't matter if you're running the ball a ton. If you want to look at pass offense EPA, Eagles going into last week before the game of the Panthers were 6th in the league. Their pass offense was 6th in the league. So in terms of efficiency and impact, 6th. So when they do pass the ball, they are making big plays. Now, it's a lot of it is the boom or bust nature of the play. So like they go for explosive plays in the passing game, and then if it doesn't work, it kind of like fizzles out a little bit. So I get that part of it, but again, you can't just ignore big play passing because this league is about creating explosives. So that matters a lot. So I think that when it comes to Hurts, I said this earlier on Twitter, and I know that there's this widespread narrative that, okay, like I think Hurts is playing a little bit conservative because of the turnovers. In some way, yes, I will agree with that. I think in some way he is. I don't think that's the main factor because we've seen him thread tight window throws to players that are you can say are kind of like high risk throws. The one that comes to mind, like off the top of my head, is that touchdown against the Cowboys to Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson was covered. He was absolutely covered in the end zone. That was a tight window throw. That was a high risk throw, but he trusted the leverage of Johnny Wilson. So like that's just one example. There are many other examples where Hurts throws it to a spot where only his receivers can get it. The big throw to Jahan Dotson, was that against the Jaguars? That was a tight one. Like there's nowhere to go with that. Dotson's not wide open. Like he's trusting Dotson to make a play. So there are examples of Hurts throwing it in tight windows where it's not just wide open. So I don't think it's more. I don't think him being afraid and conservative is the main issue. It's a factor sometimes, but I think it's. I can't say for sure. I really don't know for sure, but I think it's a confluence of different factors and different things. And we've seen in his history, every once in a while he'll have a game where he just doesn't see the field well. And this could be one of those games. There's just, for some reason whatsoever, every few games, maybe once or twice a season, he just doesn't see the field well. So I think he'll bounce back next week. I think that the pass protection will continue to improve. All right. And they'll iron out some stuff. And there are execution issues from the receivers too, where they're not getting open and they're not running good routes. And then from Kellen Moore's standpoint, I think that he's going to I think that this might be a bad formula. I think he's saving some stuff for the playoffs. I think come playoff time, there are going to be some plays that Kellen Moore is going to bring out that offenses or defenses haven't seen. So that's me. I guess you can say being hopeful, but trying to be fair as well. Like, so I disagree to the point. I think it's mainly the players, but it's not just Jalen. It's not just Jalen.
But Chucks, I mean, to rebut your point, like your stats are skewed too, because Jalen's good at the splash plays. He's good at throwing the deep ball.
Yeah.
It's the intermediate stuff and the short stuff that he's apprehensive about, which is why we have this. Why we have the stat.
Last week, he actually ripped it to the middle of the field to AJ Brown in intermediate levels of field a couple of times.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, Chucks.
He doesn't do it a lot.
That was a bottom-feeding pass defense, and they threw for 118 yards.
But you can't pick and choose like a defense that you're going up against. Like if he hadn't done those things against a bad defense, you'd be willing to discredit him and point that out. But if he's doing what he's supposed to do against bad defenses, now you don't want to give him credit for it. I mean, every team is going to play against bad defenses. Like you do what you have to do against those teams, right? Like it's not just Jalen that's going up against bad defenses. Again, it's the yards, and Joe Horkowski said the same. Like Joe says, all those teams you name brings are down 3 touchdowns in the second half and can't run the ball anymore. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's why yards per game is misleading.
But you do, if you're going to have a lot of yards per game, you do have to take some chances. And one thing I was looking at today, I wrote a thing for PHLY about the Eagles, and I was looking at some things. And speaking of yards per game, the best passing yards per game this season was the opener, 278 yards, but he threw 2 interceptions, and I, and probably Rob too, went, oh my God, he threw 2 interceptions, Jesus. Yeah. I mean, it's if you're going to throw it a lot, you're going to get more interceptions. And I really think he is very sensitive on that subject at the moment. And maybe they need to de-emphasize that a little bit. It'd be a lot easier. Again, we're chicken and egg. If you were scoring 30 points a game or 40 points a game, you could afford turnovers. A game like yesterday, you couldn't really afford a turnover. I mean, he was right about that. I hated that he wouldn't throw the ball, but on the other hand, there was 1 turnover in that game, and it was the difference in the game, Yep. Bryce Young's interception. So I understand. I do think he's very, very tight with that right now, and I don't know what they're going to do about it.
But don't you think that's a problem that he's like?
Yeah, sure.
He won't let it rip because idiots like me don't want him to turn the ball over.
Yeah, and well, I think the coaches probably
I
made
think the
that point
coaching
too.
again,
But
yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he's
somebody
had
has to tell him,
yeah.
okay, we're at a point in the season now where maybe we can try, be a little more. But it's tough. I mean, this isn't the week for it against Pittsburgh. You don't want him throwing picks against Pittsburgh. Really, yesterday would have been a good time to cut loose, but he didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah, and Matt Berg just asked, would it help with mainly RPO and passing plays? Just stick with RPO often, or mainly all pass
Yeah,
plays?
yeah,
No,
you're going to
no,
end up with somebody downfield every
yeah,
damn time.
no. We
I
addressed
hate
this.
that. I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I hate that rule so much. The idea behind the ineligible receiver downfield or illegal man downfield is that somehow an offensive lineman can get in the way of defensive coverage. Well, when does that happen?
Yeah,
And every time I see it called, when they show the replay, it's some guy who had nothing to do with the play and just happened to get 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage on the other side of the field. It means nothing. It's just ridiculous. It's something defensive coordinators found in the rule book when the RPO became a big deal. And, on these RPOs, the offensive linemen are drifting downfield. Ho, 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 So, you just can't run that. At least the Eagles can't without somebody being 3 yards downfield and the flag. They had one of those yesterday.
yeah. Crazy Chunky Cat that says RPOs where Hurts excels. I disagree. The tape shows that he's not good at them because he constantly makes bad reads on them, whether to give or to keep.
He has done that, yes.
Yeah, it's an issue I've had with him actually for years. Is that like he's back to even to 2021 when he was first starter, he doesn't always make the right reads off of those RPOs.
Yeah.
So no, if you want to know, we all know that someone who executed RPOs masterfully was Nick Foles. Nick Foles knew when to give and when to keep for the pass. So Hurts doesn't do that. Just because and we need to make it clear that RPOs are different from zone reads. Okay. RPOs are whether quarterback's going to give it to the running back to run or keep it to pass the ball. Okay, basing on a key defender. A zone read is when they're going to either give it to a running back to run or keep it to run. That's the zone read. So
I think you're right. People do get that mixed up.
They get mixed up. Yeah. So it's
people just assume that because he's a mobile quarterback that he's good at the RPO.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, one thing Rob mentioned that I did want to bring up, the starts. He was the only one of us to talk about those, and that really is, we expect it now, so it doesn't get the kind of examination that it should get. But yesterday, and it's not just Jalen. What happened on the Eagles' first snap yesterday when they got the ball? Barkley ran 8 yards. Lane Johnson was called for holding.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, we never saw a replay because they had to go to the sideline reporter and explain each team's season to the people who are watching a Carolina-Philadelphia game who wouldn't possibly know anything about what either of these teams has been doing all year. We just happened to blunder upon this telecast and, we're watching football for the first time. But, I have no idea if Lane Johnson held anybody or not, but that's what happened on their first snap. It's 1st and 20, and it's maddening. It's just maddening. They just can't do anything smoothly or adroitly out of the gun. It's got to be, whoops. Okay. We were lined up wrong. Oh, geez. Yeah. I don't understand that at all.
Yeah. John Hancock
very reactionary offense.
He says, agree to the poll. They decided that game goes through Saquon. I don't think they felt like they had to do too much and didn't want to show that much that game, and they won but they look lethargic. But hey, they knew it would look like that. SJM says Hurts has pulled through on several clutch third and long plays.
Yes.
As many has alluded to, the passing offense needs to improve. It starts with Hurts processing his reads quicker. Yeah. And then
that's the maddening thing about Jalen. Even yesterday, there was at least, what was that? The 27-yarder to Devontae. Wasn't that a third down play? I believe it was.
Which one? Sorry.
The
Which
27-yard completion
I
to
think it was.
Devontae. That
I
was their
think it was.
longest pass play of the season, of the game. I think it was a third down where he was being chased around. I mean, he can do that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Yep.
I mean, I know, like we've been like for the we started with negative, and we're talking about the offense, which is this team does deserve a lot of credit for winning that game yesterday.
Yeah,
you just won 2 straight on the road. You got Pittsburgh coming in next week. Carolina, I know they're playing better, but they stink. They're not in your league. Like, that's a classic letdown spot.
You lose that game last year. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, you're
exactly.
right. And
Championship
also,
contenders win their letdown games.
I'll stick up a little bit for Carolina. I think the Eagles should have won by double digits, but Carolina's 2 previous games were 3-point losses to the Bucs and the Chiefs.
Yes.
It's I mean, people are just not paying attention because of their record.
I was laughing.
Bryce Young has been improving week by week.
Yes.
Ever since he came back. Yeah, I was laughing during the week. I've seen, I'm sure you've seen it too on Twitter, less like people predicting blowout. I would laugh every time I see it because I'm like, I don't think there's going to be a blowout. I think the line was like 14 points, and I was telling my cousin,
you couldn't.
That Sunday morning was like, I was telling him like, there's no way. If I was a betting man, there's no way I'd touch that. I would take Carolina. Like Carolina,
I felt the same way. Yes.
Yeah, they've been playing well, and their identity is exactly what an underdog team needs to do. Is they ran the ball well to shorten the game. They converted on third and manageable, and they put up a fight on defense. That's exactly how you beat a more talented team. You shorten the possessions, right? So they did a really good job. And Bryce Young, I know on an efficiency basis, down and down, he struggled, but I'm sure we all saw he made several superhero plays in that game.
Oh, God,
Unbelievable throws. I mean, Chuba Hubbard and that line, they were running really well against our defense. So I give at some point you got to realize that like
they're just playing well.
And also the Eagles defense had some issues, partly because the Carolina does have a pretty good offensive line, and Young was pretty good, and Adam Thielen, it turns out,
Adam Thielen.
But without the safety play was a little ragged, and I think that affected Cooper DeJean. I'm not an X and O guy, but those guys kind of tend to, the slot corner needs to know what the safeties are doing a lot of the time.
I think the defense,
and I thought the edge rushers sucked yesterday.
Other than Nolan Smith, I think he was the only one to get
sliding around on skates stuff that he does every now and then, where he's sort of near the play but never in the play. And Jalix Hunt, I saw get pushed all the way across the formation one time, and Nolan Smith, unfortunately, I think took a step backward. Not having BG, having him talking instead of playing is probably not a good thing for this team.
Brian Pumper, Jalen would lap you not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times.
Man, he's
worse than me.
He's worse.
He's worse than me. Oh my God!
The Renaissance. Okay.
So he thinks that Jalen Hurts, who is an exceptional runner, he's somehow going to outrun him. I wish I was at that level of delusion in life.
Well, that's a troll. That's a troll comment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's
why I haven't been.
Some of the other stuff, like we deserve Xavier Leggett is a marginal player. He's young.
You still have to make those plays. You have to.
Leggett did drop that TD.
He dropped the TD.
I think it would have been interesting if he had caught it. That doesn't end the game. There's 44 seconds left, and the Eagles just need a field goal.
Yes.
Could they have gotten a field goal out of Jake Elliott yesterday? I don't know.
I mean,
but
I hate Darius. I can't.
No, Slay
shut down. He was awesome yesterday.
Slay made 2 huge plays down the stretch to save that game.
He's a don't.
He was not horrible. And Leggett, by the way, 2 catches on 10 targets. I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Even like Todd Pinkston or somebody. 2 catches on 10 targets.
I like Leggett. Or I don't know if it's Leggett or Leggett. I like him. If you ever listen to him, he has like the purest Southern accent.
Oh, really?
His accent's the most interesting thing about his game.
It's like you know how Bubba was in Forrest Gump. It's like that
Okay.
team.
Yeah.
It's awesome. He's a great guy. Like
Ross,
but he's still a rookie. He's still a rookie. And again, people want to play the what if, like, oh, if he had caught that would have been a touchdown. Yeah, if Saquon Barkley would have caught the ball against the Falcons, we would only have one loss.
Yes.
Yeah, if Grant Calcaterra's face mac call
Yeah.
was called,
There, yeah. If you get that call, the game is very, very
if the
different.
Jalen Carter ball batting didn't drop into Adam Thielen's freaking
Yes,
hands,
yes.
that's a different story too.
Yep. Yeah, we
We
can
could all
what
play
if
this game.
When you win, you kind of if a team wins and has a play like that, it's just kind of like it's forgotten. Does anybody remember in the Super Bowl season, the playoff game against Atlanta, when Foles overthrew Torrey Smith by
That's
20
the Torrey
yards,
Smith.
hit the safety in the chest, it bounced off his chest, and Torrey Smith caught it down in stride.
Yeah. Yep.
It's one of my favorite plays from that season.
Oh my god, I think that was Keanu Neal. If
yes,
I remember,
it was.
Yeah, I think it was Keanu Neal who didn't come up with the interception. But yeah,
It was just
Even Joe
it
Buck
was
couldn't
pure
believe it.
luck.
He was
I
just
mean,
like,
it wasn't
"What just
any great
happened?"
work of skill. And you're right. Yes, I made that point. Yeah, yesterday, Thielen, Thielen took that ball away from Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean had a bead on that. He was going to catch that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the ball bounced.
Yeah, the face mask. Mark here is making a really good point. There's an official looking right like this at that face mask. Now, what is he seeing? What could he possibly be seeing? It's not like the face was turned the other way or anything like that. He's got a clear view of how the man is being tackled. What in the world? And you see this not just in Eagles games. You see it all across the league right now. I have no idea what the hell is going on.
But there's like some face mask move where the guy's helmet's on the other side because of how bad they're pulling it.
Right.
And there's no call.
And they also don't call, and I've seen the rules guy on the broadcast make this point many times. Anytime you get your hand inside the helmet, whether you're on the face mask or not, it's the same penalty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the purpose of having Dean basically being like, this is clearly 100% a penalty?
Yeah.
And then nothing happens after that.
Well, they're analysts. They're rules analysts. It's just like
and the problem is all the guys Dean and Sterator, they were really good referees at one time.
Yeah.
The guys that they have now are less experienced and less good, and it's a problem. It really is a huge problem.
Yeah, it is. Les, we appreciate your time with us as
good to
always.
talk with you folks.
It was a great conversations today. I appreciate you being with us, and then hopefully next week we come away with that'll make it 10 straight. I think the Steelers are our last tough game.
Yeah,
I don't want to jinx it. I'm not saying like the division games aren't going to be tough, but like they're our last big opponent for the regular season.
Yes.
So
that'll be fascinating because the Eagles have never beaten Russell Wilson. Nope. And the Steelers last won in Philly in 1965. So something's going to happen. Unless they tie.
That would be the most.
History is definitely going to be in one way or the other. Well, Les, thank you so much. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.
All right, guys. Thank you again.
See you, Les. That is Les Bowen on the Birds with us on Eagles Talk A2D Radio. Gentlemen, we've got about 12-ish minutes left, roughly. Any final takes on the game that we didn't cover? We covered a lot, but I know there's also stuff we didn't.
Our kicker shot.
I thought the defense was really bad other than the fourth quarter. I think in coverage they weren't great. I thought the pass rush was laissez-faire. I thought the tackling wasn't what I expected, especially from Cooper DeJean. Adam Thielen blessed him in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit all game long.
Yeah, it was.
The kid got taken to school yesterday by the vet.
So
he's got to learn. He's got to learn.
Yeah, he's gonna learn. It's veteran savvy. He did a lot of veteran savvy moves. So, I think this type of game, it was, in a way, a good thing for the Birds because it kind of is, and we know that Nick Sirianni has been talking about this in the locker room, after wins, saying don't get your head up too high, don't feed into the positive noise too much. I think this game
at a time.
I think this is actual evidence that any team can come in and beat them at any given point.
Any given Sunday. We
any
have
given
witness of that from last season. We're losing to freaking Drew Lock, and then we're blowing like a 20-point lead to the Cardinals.
Yeah, so and I think that they're going to take this in stride, and I think they're going to learn from it. A lot of things are going to be improved. I do think that it comes at a good time because people want to say trap game. This was a trap game because you had the Steelers next week, and I get it. But it's good that in a game where they came out winning, they won when they didn't play at their best. Yep. So I'm pretty sure things will get cleaned up.
Shows you the type of team they are.
Yeah, and I think next week is going to be.
What I will love, I won't laugh. I'm trying not to laugh too much at people like glazing the Rams and talking about what an amazing team they are. Meanwhile, we spanked them a few weeks back, and I don't remember hearing that.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about Dan Orlovsky. I know you're talking about.
Oh yeah, him and Chase Daniel.
Well, Dan Orlovsky is not nearly as bad as Chase Daniel.
Nowhere close. I like Dan. I honestly do.
Yeah, I like Dan.
But like, he'll get on his tangents on certain players, and it's like, golly gee, guys, it's amazing.
He'll go a little too far. He'll go a little too far.
There, big fella.
Yeah, he'll get too optimistic about stuff week to week. So that's his downfall. But he's good. He gives the Eagles flowers and credit when it's there. So like you can bring about that. The last thing I wanted to bring about this game, the Eagles Panthers game, congrats to Saquon Barkley being now the record holder for single season rushing yards in Eagles franchise history.
I like how it was barely even like brought up during the week, and everyone's just like, because you just knew it was happening.
Yeah, it happened.
He had a month. He's got a month to get whatever, not that many yards. So it was just a conclusion.
Yeah,
it was a foregone conclusion.
I was looking at because you guys know me. I'm more so concerned with yards from scrimmage because that's rushing and receiving. So for him to break McCoy's yard from scrimmage record for a single season, right now he's at 1890. The record is 2146. So he needs 257 yards from scrimmage to go left.
He's gonna obliterate
to go. And keep in mind, this is when McCoy did it in 16 games. Barkley's on 13, so he still has 3 games.
He's gonna obliterate that.
About yards from scrimmage per game and keeping pace and all that stuff. He's got 3 games to get 257 yards. And
so imagine if he, like, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but imagine if he breaks McCoy's record and Eric Dickerson's record in the next 3 games with that last game left.
Imagine if he breaks it in 1 game, you say?
No, in 16 games as opposed to the 17th game.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's possible. It's very possible. Very, very
is this the greatest offensive season ever by an Eagles offensive player? Not named T.O.?
It's better than T.O.
It depends on how he finishes, but I think you could make an argument it is, even with T.O., it is the greatest. Because look at T.O.'s numbers. He had what? In 13 games, he had 1,400 yards.
We have 15 something. I think he had like 15 touchdowns.
Yeah. So it was up there. But again, this is you have Saquon breaking all the yards from scrimmage records.
Yep.
Second season yards from
scrimmage.
It's
everything you could have asked and more.
I know that.
I don't know if he breaks Dickerson's record. I feel like you have no choice but to give it to him. Way more impressive than whatever McCaffrey was doing last year.
I hear you, PY.
He ain't getting
but again, these voters are so hard on.
I just want to throw something out here since we're talking about MVPs. Notice everyone was glazing Josh Allen this week for his game when he lost. I didn't hear anyone complaining about his 1-yard touchdowns.
Yeah, but he played a good game.
I'm not saying he didn't, but when Jalen scores his 1-yard touchdowns, it's what a bum, loser.
Why is Jalen even being brought up right now?
Well, yeah, PY, I don't think you need to bring and compare. I get it.
We're talking about Saquon Barkley and Josh Allen, not Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, don't be so
And
defensive.
the MVP race is over. It's done.
It shouldn't be. It
Josh Allen-
shouldn't be.
I agree with you. It
Saquon
shouldn't be,
Barkley's.
but it is. It's done.
I think it would have
It's
to.
1,000% done.
It would take a flat out collapse from Josh Allen. He would have to stink it up for 3-4 straight games to lose the MVP race.
Well,
I think
God
it's
does
done
hate the Bills.
unless he gets hurt. It's done.
Yeah, unless, that too. So
I just he spoke it into existence right there. I didn't say anything. Brinks did it.
Well, I mean, Saquon can get hurt too.
Whoa! See, you stop right there.
Knock on wood.
Jinxes aren't real. Like, grow up.
Yeah,
Like, it doesn't
okay.
matter what I say on here. It doesn't matter where you sit on the couch. It doesn't matter what beverage you drink or where you watch the game. Nothing we do on this platform or you do in your everyday life
Well, Saquon's tearing his ACL this week. Thanks,
has
Brinks.
any bearing on what
Nice
happens
job.
in professional sports.
Nice job. You broke a Saquon's
That's
ACL.
fun.
I hope you're happy.
That's fun. Let's anything else from week 14 around the league that you guys want to highlight? A game, a performance? I know we talked about Josh Allen a little bit, and
The Simpsons Bowl.
I'm not watching that. I'm not even a Simpsons fan. I'm not a Simpsons fan.
Boo!
The Simpsons never resonated with me. I
got you. You're more of a King of the Hill guy. I understand.
No, neither. I don't watch.
I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid because it was inappropriate. So I've never been a Simpson guy.
Wow. That sucks for you.
I couldn't care less about The Simpsons. I just think it's cool. Mina Kimes is on there, so that's cool. That's good. Good for Mina. Shout out to Mina Kimes, Queen.
Need you the Bartman in the end zone when they score.
Queen.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the league, I mean, this is the Lions' Super Bowl to lose. I hate to say it's an Eagles show, but this is
we'll see how that looks in the playoffs because, like, obviously now, like they look like a Super Bowl team, but like they have 18 guys on IR.
Yeah, they're still playing
defense.
So did the Eagles when they won. So like,
yeah, sure.
They didn't have 18 guys.
But they had a lot of impact.
They
players,
had the key players that were on
90%. Like a lot of those guys weren't their defensive players,
including their starting quarterback was hurt. So it's I'm not going to write off the Lions. I point out that they have a lot of guys on injured reserve that are hurt. More so for the defensive side, that like they're lacking bodies, and like a team like the Packers may not be able to capitalize on that, but with the Eagles, maybe. And I do think that the best two teams in the league right now are Lions and Eagles. It's them too.
Yep.
So
it's gonna be us and them in the NFC title game.
I think that's what it should be, but you never know. You never know in the playoffs what can go or what can happen. The game I wanted to highlight, the Seahawks Cardinals, brings the battle of our NFC West picks.
Yeah,
it looks like the Seahawks sweep the Cardinals for the season, and they're in a driver's seat for the West. The Seahawks defense is coming on, guys, and it's like what I said. Mike Macdonald defense is legit, and it took them a few games to get things going, figure it out. It took a trade for Ernest Jones for them to get a competent linebacker, but they are rolling right now. The only thing holding them back is the offensive line.
Yeah.
The offensive line is really bad, but I mean they got so many good weapons on offense. Geno Smith is balling. Can I just say Geno Smith is like
good.
He is
so good right now.
No one talks about him enough because people just think it's just Geno Smith. It's just Geno Smith. It's not like, let me show you this stat. I want to scroll through and hopefully I can find it in time. But
they're second in yards passing.
There you go. Here it is.
Per year.
So per Ben Solak, no player has more true dropbacks, which is non-play action and non-screens, than Geno Smith does this season. And on such snaps, he is 4th in completion percentage, 1st in on-target rate, 5th in success rate, and 8th in first down and touchdown rate. First down plus touchdown. So if you get a touchdown on first down. And this is all despite seeing a pressure rate of 35.5%. He's seeing pressure on more than a third of his dropbacks. That is insane. Geno Smith, I'm not saying he's elite, but Geno Smith is a really good quarterback. So can you imagine if they actually had an offensive line? Can you imagine like they have like Zach Charbonnet went off. So like that 1-2 punch of Walker and Charbonnet, if they had an O line that could block, oh my God, this team would be like they'd be right there with the Lions and us.
Yep.
They're that good, but they don't have an O line, so that's gonna hold them back.
Zach Charbonnet costing me a bye in my fantasy league.
Oh, you were playing against him?
45 burger.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
But
he
I mean, as far as the Carolina hot take, it was fun for a while, but they're done.
Yeah, I think they kind of
done.
plateaued. That offensive system like kind of just plateaued. They had some flashes.
Kyler's way too inconsistent.
Yeah, that too.
And they need some hosses. I mean, Marvin Harrison, he's got 7-8 touchdowns, which is pretty good for a rookie, but he's inconsistent.
Yeah, he has
a little more. Need a little more out there.
I feel like they're a year away still from being a year away. So yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we get the 1 hour mark. Good show. Great conversations. We've got some entertaining stuff ahead and a big Steelers game, so that should be fun. And hopefully next week we come away with another win. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate also our sponsor, Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, etc., etc. Make sure you mention A2D for 10% off your in-store purchase. Make sure you also catch the rest of our shows during the week. We've got a show almost every night of the week. And for myself, for Brinks, and for PY, the rest of us at A2D Radio, we appreciate you. And we'll see you next time, or same time next week. Go Birds!
Go Birds!